is Assemblywoman Roanne Testito, and congratulations, Roanne, on your victory yesterday. To her right and your left of her is Police Chief Raymond Filo. Ray Filo is the Chief of Police for the village of New Hartford. And on the far end of the table for me is Michael Kaluza. Michael is the Chief Assistant District Attorney in Oneida County. He's also been a very active member on our organizing committee for this, for the Art of Innocence. And so let me first ask Roanne if she has some comments to make.
Thank you, Blair. I do have some comments. In the Assembly, we have passed twice a DNA expansion and reform legislation, once in June of '07 and again in April of '08. In June of '07, we attempted to conference this bill with the Senate. I was on the conference committee, and I can tell you, after listening to Alan and 21 years of loss of his life in jail, I can tell you that we will go back and work for this piece of legislation to be put into law. And just to go over a little bit, it's a DNA expansion bill. It expands the collection of DNA in more instances than we already have today upon conviction and all convictions. But it also talks about innocence. And my colleague, Joe Lental, who's chair of the Assembly Codes Committee, who hails from Brooklyn, has been a very active legislator in the Innocence Project, has been working with Barry Schuck and the Innocence Project for a number of years. And he is the expert in this, but I'll try to be a little bit, I'll be short in my comments because I know we all have questions for Alan. But it would establish a statewide standard to preserve and catalog the DNA evidence to make sure that critical evidence is available. And I think if we delve into some of the problems with DNA and using DNA in these exoneration and innocence cases, you will find that in major cities, the evidence is not cataloged to the point where we have been told that some of these DNA evidence is thrown into barrels, and they actually go looking for it like you would be looking for a pair of socks or a match to a pair of socks. It also establishes formal procedures that may be used so that a person who may be innocent of a crime can get a comparison between their DNA profile and DNA evidence obtained at the scene of a crime. In Alan's incident, he asked on several occasions for his profile to be used. It removes procedural barriers that have sometimes prevented people who have been exonerated of a crime from seeking compensation in the Court of Claims. And I know that some of you watched the movie prior to this, and I believe one of the states passed this legislation already. I think it was Massachusetts passed it, and this would be part of our legislation. It also requires the videotaping of custodial interrogations that take place in police stations and felony cases to preserve and record statements made by defendants in custody so that they may be available for pretrial proceedings, and would also help reduce instances where statements are involuntarily or inaccurately reported. Again, working with the DA's office here in Oneida County, we have talked about doing that here in Oneida County. It also establishes a commission on integrity of the criminal justice system to study errors made in the wrongful conviction cases and to recommend how the justice system can be improved to prevent these mistakes. The commission studies would be used to send recommendations to our governor, the courts, and the legislature to improve the legislative and the adjudicative process. The bill also provides specific authority for comparisons between volunteer DNA samples and crime scene DNA evidence. And under the provision of this proposed law, this forensic practice would be limited so that only crime-related DNA evidence and DNA profiles obtained from people convicted of crimes could be stored permanently in a government database.